Hey gamers, today it's time to put on a show and review Shakespeare. Let's check it out. In the game Shakespeare, you're going to pick a color. I'm going to pick green here. You're going to put your markers, one on each act here. You're also going to start off with 5 victory points in the game. You can get up to 30. Well, it says you can. I don't know if you can. It's hard to get points in the game. And it goes over 6 rounds. Through practices, you got a dress rehearsal and a final performance right there, which I'll talk about in a minute. You're going to put out costumes and set pieces according to the number of players in the game, and behind the board it'll tell you back here how many pieces you'll put out per round for each player. These pieces are randomly drawn from 2 separate bags here, one containing set pieces and one containing costume pieces. Each player is going to have a similar player board, just like this one here. I just put this one out here. And you're going to start with these 4 characters here. Also, you're going to have a little marker of your color. It's going to stay right there in the center. It's going to reset to that every round. And that's how you're going to start. Now, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to try to set initiative. And what that means is basically, I'm just going to take one of each color here. And it says you're supposed to randomly select them. So I'll just shake it around here. And I'll just randomly select the initiative track. Now, that's all. So the only time you do this is on the first part of the game, because you need to set the initiative. Now that's not who's going first. Who's going first is decided differently. But first, what you're going to do is you're going to put out some of these random cards. You got actors, you got stage designers, apprentices, set builders, jewelers, seamstresses, and you'll put one out. Everyone's going to grab one going backwards. So the person last on the initiative track gets to pick one, and then going up like that. So what you'll do, that's how you start off. So you would start off with one character. So let's say I started off with, I don't know, this guy here. He's just a helper, and I'll talk more about him later. So that's who this is who I got in the game, was this guy. Okay, I had to adjust the camera so you could see that. So this is the guy I have right now. Now, what every player is going to do is they're going to take their tokens. You get 5 of these tokens, and these represent actions in the game. And you're going to blind bid how many actions you're going to use that turn. Now, you don't want to bid all 5, because that ensures that you're going to go last. So you kind of maybe want 3 or 2. And let's say everyone holds up their hand, then reveals. I revealed 2. The other players revealed 3, 3, and 4. So I would go first. So you would actually put over here at the top, green goes first, plus, you see that little candle? That means I would also get a victory point for going first. But of course I have the least amount of actions on my turn. Let's say this was the rest of the startup here. Alright? So, what the initiative track is for is it breaks ties. So if there's a tie in something, you would look at the initiative track and see who would break ties. Now, how the initiative track is set for every other round is how the player order went the round previous. So for instance, if it was round 2, we're going to take all these away and rebid, but before we do, on the initiative track, green is first, blue is second, red is third, and orange is still fourth. So that's how you would determine the initiative track going forward for continuing rounds. But let's say I went first. Well, all I had was 2 actions. Now, you only get to do 1 action per turn. And how to do an action, I can activate one of my people on the player board. And so maybe what I want to do is I want to go to Shakespeare himself, and I would activate him. Now what he has 2 little white feathers here. That means that I can go up 2 spaces in one of these 3 acts, Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. Or I could go up 1 space in 2 of those acts. So for instance, on blue, maybe I just want to improve Act 3, and I have 2 spaces there. Or 1 space in blue, 1 space in yellow. Now the reason the initiative tracks are very important to zip through, because during the dress rehearsal and definitely final performance, if any of you are stuck down here in the lower tiers, you see those extinguished candles, you're going to lose a victory point. And then as the further up you go, like for instance the first act, if you're right here during the dress rehearsal or final performance, you're going to get a coin, 3 coins, 5 coins if you're up here. Whoever's leading after this spot here, whoever's leading gets 2 victory points. Second place would get 1. And over here, you're guaranteed 1 victory point, 2, and then 3 at the end. So it just basically gives you more victory points to move up all your acts. Of course, the better performance, of course, the more points you should be getting. So, of course, Shakespeare is a good one to activate. But who else can I activate? Well, I can activate this man here, and he is going to make people happy. He's kind of the jokester. He's the comedian. He makes my cast super happy when he's in the show. So you see these 2 happy spaces? That means I would go up, boom, boom, on the track. Now, there are other ways to go up on the track. There are ways you can drop down on the track. But if you end your turn, if you end the round a particular place on the track, you can actually get rewards or issues with your play. For instance, if I'm at the very top of the track, I get a victory point. That's really nice. If I'm here, that white feather says I can go up another one in any one of my acts. If I'm right here, I would get an extra coin I could use to pay off my cast and crew at the end. If I'm here, nothing happens, but if I'm here, there's a black feather. That means I must go down in one of my shows. So I will go down here back to the beginning. Or if I'm at that extinguished candle, of course I'm going to lose a victory point. Those would be bad. Now at the end of the round, this bullet point, wherever it was on the track, it goes whoop, straight back to 0 again, and you get to start over. So this helps you from not being, maybe there's a runaway leader who just can't, no one can bring him down. He's up here, or you're just trying to get back to 0 because you keep falling back behind everyone. So anyway, that's what he can do there. Another thing I've got the set builder or designer. He can kind of do both. He can do costumes and sets. If I activate him, he can actually pull from me 4 points. You see the number 4 there. 4 points worth of costume material, just material, cloth, or some sets for my stage here. I need sets too. Now, the reason I grabbed him earlier, he's just like an apprentice. He can help out seamstresses and set builders. I don't know why I can't say seamstress, plural, but anyway, he can add and give them a +1. So if I put him on this, he would get a +1 in this thing. And so now this guy can actually pick 5 instead of 4. So what can I do? Let's say I can pick 5. Well, I can pick a 4 and a 1. I can pick a 3 and a 2, whatever I want. Let's say I get the 3 and the 2 here. Now, once you get costume pieces, you can apply it to those characters. So for instance, I got 2 actors right here, and if I had other actors like Cleopatra here, I could add, you see those little circles they have? You can add costumes to them. Now the reason you want to costume your folks is if they have all 3 costumes, 2 things can happen. The first thing is you can get rewards for having a fully costumed actor in your show. The rewards are listed down here. If you have 6 to 7 points, you're going to get 2 coins. 8 to 10 points, you're going to get a coin and a victory point. 11 to 12 gives you 2 victory points. 13 to 15 gives you 3 victory points. So let's say I had the last one here, 5. That's 10. Oh yeah, that's going to get me a coin and a victory point. That's nice. Now if you had all 5s, that'd be 15. That'd be a super dress costume he would have. Awesome stuff. I'd get hired by Lucasfilm with that costume. And then I could go up 3 victory points. So that's kind of how it works. Now the second thing you wanted, the reason why you want to get these people costume is because you definitely want to get that little action they have at the end of their card, and other players have little bonus actions. If they are fully dressed by the time dress rehearsal or the main show starts, you get to activate their secret ability. Like he gets to move me up 1 on the first act. This guy would let me go up on the second act, and there's other players, if they are fully dressed, would maybe give me money, maybe give me victory points, let me go up the tracks here, whatever. But only if they're fully dressed. If they're partially dressed, it does not work. I forgot to say something at the beginning here. You're actually going to pass out these cards and put them on the board, and you're always going to put out 2 more of these cards than there are players in the game. So let's say it's a 4-player game. I'm actually going to toss out 6 different cards. And how this works, according to the player turn, so green would go first, and this is not one of your actions here in a way, you don't have to use one of your action tokens for it, but you actually have to get an actor or crew to help out in your show. So if I was going first, I could pick from any of these. As you see, here's a seamstress. That's really nice. She can get 8. Woo! you know. And then here's another set builder. He can get 8+ in there. You have actors. This guy acts so well that your first act goes up and everyone else gets a sad face. So they go down on the track when they see how good he is and he's not in their show. You got this guy who's a jeweler. And jewelers are really good because if you activate them, they can give you 1 gold piece of either this or that. Now, they're the only people who can get the gold pieces out of here. So if you really need that 3, the only way you're going to get that costume is if you have the jeweler. If you really need that set piece, the only way you're going to get that is through the jeweler. So you're definitely going to pick one of these, and let's say I picked the jeweler, okay? Well, I'm going to put my little, aha, I have gotten someone, and put him there, just to show that I've already gone, I've already picked. And of course the other players will go as well. They'll put down their cards. The 2 that are left remaining that no one wanted, they'll go into the discard pile at the end of the round, and we'll draw new cards again. So that's kind of how that goes. That should have gone first. Then you're going to be doing your actions that you bid upon. And it'll go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Eventually, I'll be out of the game quickly because I bid the lowest. And so it may end up with orange. You may have bid like 4. And so he gets to go extra again and again. Anyway, going back to this guy, that was costumes. Let's say I picked set pieces. Now, remember, I activated my helper here, so I can actually get 5 there. So that's not bad. So I could get this one set piece here, you know, and I would place it here on my board, and I could build a set. And how you build a set, you have to start at the bottom row and build up. You can't build up here until you establish 2 sets there, and then you can build on top of it that way. Now, cards are in the game, and they let you know, depending on the number of players, first off, how many of these certain tokens that you're going to put in the bag. Sometimes you have to take tokens out, depending on the number of players. And then secondly, it also tells you what each one of these set pieces can do, and they're the same on each card no matter how many players are playing. So for instance, when I'm putting one of these down, I need to make sure there is symmetry involved in building my set. Meaning, if I placed a 5 here, you have to place a 5 here. If I placed a 2 here, then the next time I get sets, I better place a 2 right there. You got to have that symmetry, unless it is a gold set. A gold set is a wild card, and so it could go here, even though it's not a 2. 3 is a wild card, and it can go anywhere. So another good reason to have the jeweler is to get that. In fact, it says that's the secret power on this card. See, it's a wild card there. If I was to get a 5 like I just did there, it would give me one of these little bonus tokens I could take with me, and that's a +3 for whenever I want to use it. So instead of +4, I can give him 7, you know, if I use this. Once I use it, it's out of the game that turn. I have to grab another 5 set to get another piece. If I grab a 4 set, I go up 2 happiness. If I grab a 3 set, everyone else goes down sad, 1. If I grab a 2 set, I get a coin. If I grab a 1, it's common, I get nothing, because it's kind of a bland set. If you don't know how you're going to memorize all that, well, if you look on the back there, it actually tells you what your reward is on each one here. So you can actually take the reward and then fold it up. And you're trying to build up your set because you definitely want to cover these candles, because every time you cover a candle, you go up in the victory track thing. So there's another way to get points in the game is by building up your set. Now, as the game goes on, you're going to be getting crew members here, cast and crew, and as you see, they have these little coin tokens on the corners of them. That's how much they cost. Now, you're not going to pay for them up front, but at the end of the final show, you're going to make sure that you have enough money to pay all of them. If you don't, you are going to start losing victory points. You lose 2 victory points for every person you cannot pay. So to avoid that, what are some other ways we can make money? Well, there's one other character I'd never played yet, and it was the Queen. If you play the Queen, you have 2 choices. One, you can get 4 coins from her. She's going to give you some money for the show. She likes what she sees. Here's you some money to get you along. That's one way to get money to pay for all this cast and crew and your big performance here. But another thing you can do, you can grab 3 initiative cards, and these are the Queen's initiative cards here, and you can look through them and pick one that you would want to utilize in the game. And these Queen initiative cards, they just give you different things, different objectives and goals to do in the game. For instance, you know, at the end of the game, you can go up one. If you're number 1 in any of these 3 or all of these 3, you get an additional victory point. Or this one. If you have these 3 actors at the end of your show, you're going to gain a victory point. If you have these 4 actors, you know, they just added the set builder on there, then you're going to get 2 victory points. So these things can really help you out. Here it shows extras. What are extras? Well, let's say that when I pick this guy, because I have to draft someone every turn, man, I already have maybe like 1 or 2 builders. I don't need a 3rd builder. Well, what I can do, instead of utilizing him, once I choose him, I can flip him over and he becomes an extra. As you see, I don't have to pay extras. I can costume them, and they actually, when you know, they're activated during dress rehearsals or the main event, they can actually move up one of my 3 acts. They're actually pretty good and I don't have to pay for them. Now you have to decide that the moment you choose them. You can't later on in the game go, oh, you know what, I'm going to make him an extra now. Nope, you can't do that because you picked him and you put him face up on your, you know, on your player area. So now he is a set builder for life. If you picked him up and flipped him over, he can be, you know, an extra. Now, why would you need extra set builders, extra seamstresses, you know, extra, you know, actors or whoever? Well, because let's say I played 3 of these. I played one on Shakespeare, I played one on my jeweler, and I played one on the Queen. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those 3 back, but I'm going to take 1 less of these tired tokens. So out of these 3 people who worked, 2 of them are going to be tired for the next round. That means I can't activate them. So for instance, I could put one on the Queen and one on the jeweler and let Shakespeare work back-to-back days. The Queen is off. I can't go see her back-to-back days now. And the jeweler can't work because he worked yesterday. So in the next round, whoever you utilize the first time, all but one of them are coming back for the next, all but, one of them are staying. They're resting for the next day. So you can't, it stops you from utilizing the same, combo over and over and over again, which is a really smart mechanic there. And again, if I played 4, let's say I activated 4 people, well then 3 of those 4 would have to rest. And so on and so forth. So it stops you from using, and also, if I played 3, if I only had 2 left over, I'd probably bid lower the next time. All right, so that's kind of how that works there. Now at the end, like I said, at the end of the final show, you're going to add up all your points, see where you are on the track, add up the points there, any in-game points, maybe there's stuff from, activated costumes here, and any of the Queen's objectives that you have, you're going to play those, and whoever has the most points wins. Now there is an expansion and a promo in this game, and I'm going to review that right now. The expansion is called Shakespeare Backstage, and what it gives you a few things. It gives you some extra actors to work with, like the bear. That's really awesome. This lady, Ophelia. So you get a few extra actors to kind of add to the randomness of the game, variety, I guess, of the game. Not randomness, variety. You get some extra Queen's favors here, Queen's initiatives here, which are all really cool initiatives there. And there's a book that tells you what each picture means. Even in this main game, it'll tell you what each one of these stand for. You're also going to get these backstage people. Now, how it works, again, let's say, remember in a 4-player game, I'm setting out 6 of these, right? We already did that, but let me put out 6 again. So if you're playing with backstage, not only are you going to put 6 of those out, but you're going to put 6 of these out as well. These backstage people are a lot less powerful than the main people here, but you can still utilize them for some very good things. But how do you activate backstage people? It's very simple. Let's go back to my first example. Let's say I bid 2. Well, usually in the base game, you would just discard these 3 until the next round because you don't do anything with them. But if you have Shakespeare Backstage, these 3 go backstage. And what you would do is you'd take, you have the deck that's face down, and what you do is you make sure and place your tokens there. And all the players would do this. Place them there to show who is backstage and who is upstage trying to do performance. And now, on top of all the actions I showed you, one of your actions could be to utilize your tokens back here and activate one of these for a one-time use only. Meaning, once I activate one of these characters, then no one else, like let's say Orange was in the game too, Orange could not activate that person because I was the first one to do it. So there's a race on both ends to get certain things done in the game. Grab set pieces, grab costumes, or, you know, try to get some backstage people. And the backstage people are really cool. As you see, there's a one-time jeweler. They'll tell you how many, and let me get the whole deck here. It tells you how many coins you have to pay to get certain things. So if you paid 1 coin, you get one of these sets. You pay 2 coins, you could get a 4 or 5. This guy, you pay 3 coins, you get this. This backstage guy, I think he's a backstage director. He's really cool because when you get his set, he comes with a separate card right here. And so whenever you buy a set from him, you place it on your board. Well, see, you already covered 1 candle. That's 1 victory point. If you kept seeing him, there's 6 of his cards in the deck. And if you saw them 4 of those times, you could start stacking them and actually get a second victory point. So it's a secret way to get special points in the game. But all of these come with these little secret abilities, or super abilities, I should say, and it just depends on how many coins you want to pay is how you will, you know, how much you'll get activated in there. And again, the little booklet tells you what each one of them is for. If you play this more than once, you'll get the hang of what each of them are for just by looking at them. But it just adds a little extra to the game. It lets you, you know, not waste some of the tokens that would usually go to waste in the base game. It basically utilizes them. Of course, it adds more variety to Queen's Initiative and, of course, your acting base. So it's really cool. And all these characters are characters from Shakespeare shows. So if you know Shakespeare, then, I mean, Juliet's an easy one. But Lady Macbeth, blood on her hands. I mean, and the artwork is just really beautiful in these as well. So the actors are actors from his show. Now, the promo that's on BGG is Prospero, and all it is just a card, plus they give you this art book. That's all it is. I don't know why they give you the art book or why they think that would be nice. It's okay, I guess. But Prospero is the one promo card that comes from BGG.com. Anyway, at the end of the show, at the end of all the shows, again, most points wins. That is Shakespeare. Final thoughts. What do I think about this game? Well, folks, I am a lot of my board gamers come from theater. I met them in theater. We started my board game group always includes theater people, and it always has. It probably always will. That's one of the reasons. There's another game I reviewed a while back called Show Manager, and we play it. It's quick, it's easy, it's fun. You're casting people for a show. Here, casting is one part of what you do. You got to get costumes. You got to get backdrop. You've got to make sure your acts are all good. This is what it feels like to be in an actual play, and that is super cool. That is super cool. I played this at BGG-Con, and it was one of the first games I played. Now, I'm not that big a fan of Shakespeare plays, so I didn't know if I'd like it. Any fan of Shakespeare is going to love it because it has a lot of Shakespeare references. It even has a little bit of a history in Shakespeare in the rule book, which is really cool. But this game is super fun, very, very thematic. And if you have people who enjoy doing plays or acting, this is the game for them. This is the game that would probably get them in. It's not too heavy. Once you learn the mechanics, you know how it goes. The gameplay moves on. But man, oh man, is this right up my gaming group's alley. And it's a fun game. It's a super fun game. So should you get it? Yeah, I think you should. I think it's great. Now, let's talk about the expansions for a minute. When I bought Shakespeare Backstage, I was super excited for it to come in. I was like, oh yes, because I didn't get to play it at BGG-Con. They didn't have it. And then it came in. A pack of cards. I paid 20 bucks for this. I paid 20 bucks for a pack of cards. Now, to be honest, that is way overpriced. $10? Yeah, I'll pay $10 for this, not 20. And I should have read what was in it before I bought it, but I was just so enraptured with Shakespeare. I was like, I gotta have this. And I was very disappointed when it came. I said, what is this? The mini expansion? Just a deck of cards. We played with it, and it's nice. It's nice. It's nice to utilize those tokens that you did not, bid with. So it gives you extra options. I like that. I like that it gives you extra options. I don't know whether this is definitely, I don't think it's worth 20 bucks unless you feel it's worth 20 bucks. I don't feel it's worth that much. Now I'm glad I have it. Like I said, I have it, so we're going to utilize it every time. But maybe wait for this one to go down in price. That's way too much for a pack of cards, I think. The promo too, a little over expensive there. Basically all you're ever going to play with is one card. And as you see, it's even in the same bag because I haven't played with Prospero. I keep forgetting to pull them out of the bag and just stick them in the deck. It's just an extra card. And I thought, oh, that's neat. And I didn't know what this was. It's just an art book. I guess if you're into that, I don't know. At least they try to give you something for all the money you spent. It wasn't that much, but they try to give you something else for all the money you spent. So that was kind of confusing too. You don't need the promo card for this. It'll add an extra character to it. Like I said, I haven't played with Prospero yet, so maybe he's really good. Backstage, take it or leave it. If you think this is worth 20 bucks, get it. I don't think it's worth 20 bucks, but as a hypocrite, we play with this all the time, so you have to decide whether that's for you. But Shakespeare, the base game, definitely worth it. All right, gamers, that is all the time I have for now. Until next time, game on!